So I just want to welcome everyone here and to the session 2-for-1 Early College High Schools. My name is John Legg. I'm out here in it's actually a little crisp today here in Tampa, Florida, where I'm from. It's 65 outside, so it's pretty cold for us down here in Florida. So we're going to be reviewing a really good topic that I'm excited about is early colleges and how the benefits of those, particularly for underserved populations, are. And it's a growing opportunity that meets the needs of a lot of students. To start off, if you have questions, in the lower right-hand corner, there's a Q&A box. Feel free to type in your questions, and we'll get to them. We'll try to get to them as we're going along, as we see them, and if we miss them, we'll kind of circle back to them at the end. So let's just start off by looking at what are early colleges and what they're all about. So early colleges are a partnership between high schools, college universities with a jointly developed, integrated academic program to allow earning and a transfer of college credit. Basically, in a nutshell, it allows students an opportunity to earn their associate's degree, associates in arts, associates in science, or up to 2 years of college credit towards a bachelor's degree. It has a rigorous and supportive environment for students to navigate, succeed in college. It's committed to serve traditionally underrepresented students. It's jointly accountable for student success by local education agencies, higher education institutes, and the community. One of the unique attributes is that they have a comprehensive support system that develops academic and social skills, as well as behaviors and conditions necessary for college completion. One of the questions that I get often asked is, what's the difference between an early college and traditional dual enrollment? And oftentimes people kind of blend the two together, but they're definitely different and they're distinct. So dual enrollment, it varies from state to state, but as an arching across all 50 states, dual enrollment allows high school students basically to earn college credit the first 2 years, traditionally in 11th and 12th grade. It varies from state to state, but as a whole, it's mainly 11th and 12th grade, and they earn it while in high school. The tuition fees range from state to state. Some states charge students, some states charge a particular school, some states waive it. It varies on how it goes. Dual enrollment can be either on a college campus or on a high school campus, but traditionally, and the majority of dual enrollment courses are on a high school campus. Nationwide, the average is around 6.5 credits is what the average dual enrollment student earns. There's usually minimum student guidance when it comes to dual enrollment. Students are generally not in a cohort together, and there's usually limited academic and social structures outside of that of what the normal college environment offers. That's to differentiate against early college. In early colleges, there's about 250 self-declared early college programs throughout the U.S. 7 states have statutory definitions of early colleges, and all 7 of them are a little bit different. 34 states have some form of early college programs, but they're not necessarily defined by the state legislature. Early colleges tend to be more 9th through 12th grade versus where dual enrollment is just 11th and 12th. It's a college immersion program where it's both on and off high school campus, where the high school is more engaged in the academics and the social aspects of the students. There's something that a lot of early colleges call as intrusive counseling. Whereas traditional college environment and even traditional high school, they kind of wait for the student to come to the counselor. In early colleges, it's a structured environment where there's intrusive counseling, where there's a significantly higher degree of accountability, both for the student and for the high school in that relationship. Students are often grouped in a student cohort where they work together and kind of support each other throughout their college environment. Now, that does change from program to program and school to school and state to state, but generally they're in a cohort together. Doesn't mean they've taken their classes together, though. They're just taking similar classes and they have similar support structures together. The high schools provide social programs for them to establish relationships. And I can't underscore this enough, in that it's relationship based. Relationships with the teachers at the high school level, the counselors, the students, those relationships are cultivated and fostered. There's a formalized academic and social structure. And one of the big keys is that there is a goal. There is a significant specialized goal where they have is an exit strategy, whether it's an associate's degree, an arts associate's degree in science, or industry certifications, or certain programs that are outlined by the school. And one of the unique aspects is that there's post-secondary transition assistance and follow-up. Many of the early colleges have follow-up even after they leave the high school environment. Many of these early colleges are supporting the students as they transition into post-secondary education at a university or other areas. There's follow-up for semesters and years following, based on the other schools that they're enrolled in. Now, are these early college programs effective? And there's a significant body of empirical evidence out there and research out there. And I'm not going to go over all the research out there, but I want to hit a couple highlights that shows that it's overwhelmingly effective. There's significant increase in the high school graduation rate, college enrollment, college degree attainment, more than traditional high school programs, and more than non-structured dual enrollment programs. Their personalized relationship with instructors for the academic tutoring and advising, help with study skills, type management, self-advocacy, and other college skills and college preparations that assist the students beyond their high school years and allow them to have a significant success at a four-year institution. And early colleges have a significant positive effect on low-income, minority, and underserved population. And the evidence is overwhelming of the positive impact it has on at-risk populations. And today what we have with us is we have two experts, if you will, who run various forms of early college programs throughout the U.S. And what we're having today is really a discussion for them to paint the picture of what these early college programs do, what they look like, their experiences. And, if I could leave an impression for our participants out there, is if you're looking at something to move the needle, this is another tool in the toolbox that you may be able to use in your state, in your school district, to move the needle for really underserved populations that would be effective. So the first guest, if you will, or first panelist that we have is Dr. Garcia. Dr. Garcia is currently in his fourth year as superintendent of Vanguard Academies in the lower Rio Grande Valley of Texas. Prior to serving as Vanguard's Vanguard Academy superintendent, Dr. Garcia served for 4 years as the deputy superintendent of schools at Bahar San Juan Alamo Independent School District, a 32,000 student school system. Prior to position there, Dr. Garcia served as superintendent of schools at Laval Independent School District for 3 years. At each of Dr. Garcia's stops, he has founded an early college, high school, or T-STEM campus and had significant impact in those communities. Dr. Garcia, turn it over to you.
Sure, thank you. So currently, as a superintendent of Vanguard Academy, we've founded 3 early college high schools within our school system, and we have Rembrandt Secondary Early College High School, but it's also a T-STEM Early College High School, and then Beethoven, one of our other Vanguard Academy schools, is also an early college, and so is Mozart, obviously named after famous composers and Renaissance people, right? But at Vanguard Academy, these are our current demographics. At Vanguard Academy, we currently have 4,906 students at 7 different campuses here in the lower Rio Grande Valley. So 4,906. from those 4,906 students, 98.8% of them, almost 99%, are Hispanic. We have 45% of our students are limited English proficient students. They're English learners. 73% of our students are economic disadvantaged. 74% are at risk, and we have about 5.2% of our students being special education. And so these are our demographics, and in spite of these demographics, we challenge our students to perform at a high level and participate in our early college program. Prior to me arriving here, Vanguard Academy had a small dual enrollment program, and like Dr. Legg mentioned, dual enrollment and early college, they're a little bit different in the sense that dual enrollment, in some cases, students don't have a college advisor or a counselor that's keeping them up to abreast, actually, of what coursework they've taken and what coursework applies towards a degree. On the other hand, if you have an early college program, counselors and advisors, because it is an early college program, are pushed to actually advise the students and make sure that they understand that each college course that they're taking is going to have an impact on future college hours, whether for financial aid or scholarships or whatever the case might be, but hours that apply towards an actual degree, which is an associate's degree. So prior to arriving at Vanguard Academy, we had a small dual enrollment program. At the end of my first year, we graduated 7 students with associate degrees. And to me, that was a disservice to the total student population that was at Vanguard Academy. So right before my first year ended, I would say around the middle, our Texas Education Agency here in the state of Texas opened up the window of application for new applications for early college high schools. And they had just modified the application and had modified the program or improved on the program, right? And so I said, I don't want 7 students graduating with an associate's degree. I want to see if we can get as close to 100% of our students that are attending our high schools graduate with an associate's degree, or up to 42 or 45 college hours, right? And so in the middle, we applied for a planning year, which was my second year. And by my third year, all 3 of our high schools were designated early college, or actually at the end of my second year. And so we're in our second year of early college high schools here at Vanguard Academy. And at the same time, we are applying lessons and best practices learned within our school system and applying it to our dual enrollment students. Thus, this year, 2 years ago, we had 7 students graduate with an associate's degree. This year, we're having 50 graduate with an associate's degree. So the impact has been tremendous. The growth has been tremendous. From 7 to 50 in 2 years is dramatic. And so we see it as a way to benefit our community and make an impact economically, socially, and emotionally because of the different programs that we offer in our early college. Thank you, Dr. Legg, for the introduction.
Thank you very much. Impressive. So you went to 7 to 50 in 2 years.
In 2 years.
That's and I know we'll explore this a little bit deeper, but what would you say the percentage of students from your school are graduating with 45 credits or more? What would be the percentage?
I would say at least 50% now. At least 50% would be graduating with at least 42 to 45. So in Texas, we have something called core hours, right? And that started back in the early 2000s. And so something, even because sometimes a knock against early college high schools is, well, not all 60 hours transferred to a regular university or college, right? Whether it's private or public from a community college. Well, to really work on behalf of students and community colleges, what the state of Texas did in the early 2000s was implement a program of degree articulation or core hours, that if you take 42 to 45 of the core complete hours, right, all those would transfer into any public or private university or college in the state of Texas. And that's statute, that's state law. And so even if students decide, well, If I get an engineering associate's degree at a community college, well, the engineering hours might not transfer. The 42 to 45 hours will transfer, but maybe not the engineering hours, because if someone is going from, let's say, a community college down here in the Lower Grande Valley and transferring to the University of Texas at Austin, well, UT Austin has their own engineering department, right? And so what the state of Texas did is said, well, at least we'll transfer 42 to 45 of those core hours to the University of Texas at Austin. The engineering hours, that's up to the university if they want to accept them. And so at least 45 out of those 60 hours transfer. Right now, if our community college has articulation degree agreements with different colleges, which they do, then all 60 or 65 or 70 hours applied towards that associate's degree or bachelor's degree do transfer. Why? Because our community college has articulation agreements with different universities and colleges in the state of Texas.
Wonderful, wonderful. Let's move on to our next guest. We'll come back for some questions here, but Kevin
Yes.
Teasley. Kevin Teasley founded of the Geo Foundation and Geo Academies in 1998. He's currently serving 3,600 students in Indiana and Louisiana. Kevin has formerly served in the Heritage Foundation, the Reason Foundation, and the Ronald Reagan administration. Kevin loves innovating, making policies reality, and helping at-risk students graduate high school with real college degrees, career certification, and success at no cost to the taxpayers. Kevin, give us an overview of your program and your students and what successes you've had.
All right. Thank you for having me this afternoon. It's a pleasure to share the story. The demographics that you're looking at on your screen are from Gary, Indiana, where we currently serve about 1,260 students in Gary at our flagship school, 21st Century Charter School. I think for purposes of this discussion, I think it might be helpful to share the genesis of why we do what we do. In 2005, when we started our charter school, the city of Gary had a 50% dropout rate pretty much annually. We wanted to stop that. And we went in and did most of, what a traditional college prep high school would do. And if we're being honest, our results weren't so great. After a few years, I wasn't really pleased with it. We may be getting kids to graduate, but they weren't going on to college, and they weren't going on to complete college for that matter. So in 2010 or 11, we had a student named Vincent Pena came to me and said, "Hey, I'm going to drop out. I'm 16 and I'm going to go bring home some money for my family." And all the teachers I talked to said that this kid was a pretty smart kid. So I went to Vincent and I said, "Look, Vincent, I set the school up to stop the dropout flow, and here you are looking at dropping out. Why are you going to drop out?" I said, "Well, nobody in my family went to college, so I'm not planning to go to college, and I should go and start making money for my family." And I said, "Well, I hear you're pretty smart, and I think you are college material, so let's take you over to Ivy Tech Community College and see if you pass one part of the entrance exam. And if you do, I'll put you in college right away just to show that you can do college." Well, he took me up on the offer, and he passed all three parts of the test. And I said, "Congratulations, you're now a college student." He said, "What do you mean by that?" I said, "I'm paying for you to go full time to college. And while you're in our high school, we're going to buy your textbooks, provide the transportation, pay the tuition. Our staff is going to provide support for you academically. We'll be there for you socially, emotionally, et cetera. We want you to succeed." Well, 2 years later, he not only graduated on time from our high school, he graduated with an associate degree, the first in Northwest Indiana to do that, which I was quite surprised because that's like 2013. And I had heard about early colleges, and so I'm kind of surprised that this is the first student in Northwest Indiana to do this. But what happened is we made such a big deal about it. And I know we've got Dr. Garcia on the phone and some folks from Texas maybe online. You've got some great schools down there. Yes, college prep, idea schools. They make a big deal out of the high school graduation and college signing day. Well, we did the same thing. in Gary. We invited all of our students from kindergarten through 12th grade to the gym to celebrate Vincent's success. And the purpose of that was to incentivize and to inspire other students to do the same thing. Because in Gary, roughly 10% of the homes have college in them. That means 90% don't. So a lot of the families I serve don't know anybody that went to college. So now we need to introduce them to people that did go to college, and not just adults, but their peers. And so Vincent, being one of their peers, shining star. And well, next year we had 3 more graduate. Next year we had 4 or 5 more. I think we may have a slide there if you want to flip it to the next slide. That's good. You can see over the past 7 years, we've had several graduate with an associate degree, a full associate degree. We've actually had 2, one already, and one will do it in 2021, who earned a full bachelor's degree while in our high school. This is 100% poverty, 100% minority in a city where 90% of the homes have no college in them at all. So you can see that we're kind of changing the dynamics of the city. And frankly, when we started our school, I can be very blunt and honest about this. A lot of parents came to me and said, stop talking to my kid about going to college. He ain't college material. That's almost a direct quote. And I said, I have to disagree. I think your kids are, and I'm going to prove it to you. And so that's one of the reasons we do what we do with our students while they're with us, because we have a big challenge. The kids kind of live in 2 worlds. They come to us, and we're expecting them to go to college. They go home, they have a different expectation. But now, today, at our school in Gary, people are choosing our school because of the college opportunities that they're having and we pay for. And you can see in this slide here, the blue bar is a percentage of Black students earning college and career readiness credits while in our high school. And the red bar is low income. What you see is we're the farthest to the left there, meaning we've got the tallest bars, we've got the most success compared to some of the state's most wealthy and white school districts in the state. And then, of course, the state average is right there in the center. So we're beating the state, we're beating both the most wealthy school districts, and we're beating our Gary public school system, which is the far right there, where they're about 22, 23%. The reality is, and what's so important about this, is that we're going beyond the idea of pushing and talking students to go to college. We're showing students that we believe they can do more than high school, and that we believe they can go to college. And we go beyond the belief by actually putting them in real college courses. These are not dual credit courses on the high school campus. These are real college courses. And they're not just at the community college. We partner with Indiana University. We partner with Purdue University. In fact, that's where 2 of our students are getting a full bachelor's degree at no cost to them from Purdue University before they graduate from high school. It's a pretty neat deal.
Great. We already have some questions that are coming up, and I'll start with Dr. Garcia. Maybe if you can tackle this one first.
Sure.
A lot of superintendents out there, are saying, well, we offer dual enrollment. We offer, other type of advanced programs. Is this just another advanced program? Why would we want to consider an early college? Like, what's the big deal? We already offer dual enrollment. If a student wants to succeed, why isn't what we're doing right now enough? If it's just traditional dual enrollment or AP, why would we want to offer an early college program?
It's really a no-brainer, right? The research that I've conducted, the research that I've seen also, really, if you compare a dual enrollment student with an early college high school student, obviously the research out there says that 8 to 9% of Latinos, right, complete their degree on time. And this is nationwide, right? And statewide, I believe here in Texas, it's maybe a couple points, higher, right? And so even a dual enrollment student, you know, the chances of a dual enrollment student succeeding from a student that didn't take any college classes is very, very high. But the chances of an early college high school student completing their degree on time, right, before 6 years skyrockets because an early college high school student was taken through a program, right, of college advisement, degree planning. And so a dual enrollment student might just be taking college hours, just, you know, part of the core hours and stuff like that. As to an early college high school student, no, an early college high school student has a degree plan and knows the roadmap of where they're headed and where they're going. So that really helps them while in high school. And so let me give you an example. Like early college high schools really afford students in 9th grade that are underserved the opportunity to start taking up to 3 to 6 college hours as a freshman in high school. Most dual enrollment students do not start taking college classes until 11th or 12th grade, like you explained at the beginning of our presentation. And so here you have an 11th grade young person trying to complete a 2-year degree, within 2 years, 11th and 12th grade, at the same time as they're having extracurricular activities in high school. So if you start earlier, you can actually go further. You know, we've had students, right, in our community that have completed their bachelor's degree while in high school as well, right? Quite a bit of them. But as far as an early college high school student, an early college high school student gets a prescriptive plan, a roadmap that tells them, you know what, your freshman year, you're going to be enrolled in taking these 6 college hours as a freshman in high school. Your sophomore year in high school, you will be taking these other courses. Your junior year, your senior. So very prescriptive. That by the time our students graduate in May from college, and then at the end of May they graduate from high school, they're already on their path to go far by completing their associate's degree early. And then what early college high schools do is they've taught a student, a young person, that guess what? There's a degree plan when I get to high school, when I get to the university or the college. But not only that, there's college advisors at the university. There are offices at the university in the admissions program or the different colleges at the university, the College of Education, the College of Sciences, that these offices are there to help me. So because we intrinsically created a small learning community where these young people created relationships with their teachers, that in some cases our students do take the college classes on campus, but it's from a professor that we've hired full-time at our district, at our charter school. And then some of our students also go off campus and enroll in college classes at the community college. So by the end of their senior year, they complete their associate's degree and then move on to the university, right? So this small learning community has allowed for our young people that by the time they get to the university or college after high school, they know what to do. That they're not going to struggle like, you know, because, okay, I get it. Dual enrollment students sometimes take between 6 to 12 to 18 to 21 college hours. And sometimes they might complete a degree, but not at a higher rate than an early college high school student or an early college high school campus. And so they'll struggle when they get to college because they didn't have the wraparound services of an early college high school while they were in high school, and early college high school students do. So that's where I've seen the success between non-dual enrollment students, dual enrollment students, and then your early college high school students. By far, early college high school students succeed. Now, Vanguard Academy's completion rate in college after they leave high school is around 60 to 65% that they complete their college degree within 6 years after they leave Vanguard Academy. I just shared with you what the research says. 8 to 9% of Latinos complete a certificate or an advanced degree after they graduate from high school. At Vanguard Academy, we're changing that trajectory, and we're changing it to where 65% of our graduating students are finishing college on time because they're coming from a early college high school.
Well, and Kevin, I'll throw this to you and just kind of take what Dr. Garcia said and move it up. One of the criticisms I've heard with early colleges is these students would have went to college anyways. You're just making K-12, K-14 and really watering down a college environment. These students would have went to college. You're delaying they would be there anyways. What would you say to that question, that these students would have went to college anyways if it was, how would you react to that, especially in your program?
Well, I don't know that I can really answer whether they would or would not have. But if you can look at the slide that I put up there for showing Gary Public Schools and then 21st Century, only 22% of Gary Public School graduates have any college credits or anything that they've earned while in high school, compared to us at 77%. That's triple the cities. I think I'd like to tag on to a little bit of what Dr. Garcia was talking about, is instead of doing dual credit, and dual credit is good for some students. This is not, this is better than, and that's worse than discussion. This is about what we can offer in a full menu for our students. I think we should have dual credit. I think we should have AP and IB, but I also think we need off-campus, meaning off high school campus, and on college campus experiences for our students, specifically first generation low income students who have absolutely no college experience in their homes. Why is that? Because they get real, to me, at least even me personally, 50% of the value of going to college is growing up and figuring out who you are as a person. And in many cases, we just graduate students across the country who've never been to a college campus other than a college visit, which is usually looking at landscape and buildings and not a real experience. Our kids get a real college experience sitting in a real college classroom with the professor who frankly doesn't care if you show up, doesn't care if you study, doesn't care if you even take the test. Let's be honest. The professor is there. They'll do their job. The students have to do their job. And the students learn that really quick, that they're not going to have a high school teacher holding their hand and say, hey, did you do your work? Let me give you a little extra time, all that baby stuff. We're going to really get that real experience of the college while the kid is still in our high school. And if the kid does wobble and does fail, rarely they do, but if they do, we are there to pick them up. Now contrast that with a different picture. The kid graduates from high school, never having any college experience, goes off 3 hours away from home to go to college, never had any experience in a classroom, doesn't realize that the professor doesn't really take attendance, doesn't really, say what I'm saying. When our kids graduate from our high school, I love that day, but I love talking to our students and say, what is it that you liked most at the college level? And I expect them to talk about a particular subject. What they always tell me inevitably is, I learned a lot about myself. I learned self-discipline. I learned time management. I learned how to work with other people who are not the same age as me, don't look like me. These are valuable skills in addition to what they learned, subject-wise from the thing. They don't get any of that if they're taking that dual credit course on the high school campus, sitting with their high school buddies, being taught by a teacher who maybe last hour taught a high school class. It's not the same experience. And I'm not saying it's a better, but I am saying for certain students, it's a much more empowering and richer experience for the students. Does that make sense?
So, yeah, absolutely. So both of you talked a little bit about, and I think Dr. Garcia mentioned, and I think you said it too, Kevin, about wraparound services, assisting those students, perhaps when they trip or need ready. Let's talk. Can you talk a little bit about what those wraparound services are, and let's talk about the $1 million issue, if you will, is how you pay for it and where does that money come from? We had a question here talking about like some of these students in high school are going to have homework gaps, opportunity gaps, whether it's, do they have digital devices to do the homework, the connectivity at home? how do you bridge that gap? And I know we're in two different states here, and there's different programs in different states. How do each of you address those wraparound services, those homework gap, those resources that these students may need that traditional high schools may have, but they may not have it in this new model? Dr. Garcia, you want to start off?
I'd like to add something real quick as to what Kevin said, and I'm going to come back and answer your questions really quick, okay? John, back about 10 years ago when I was a high school principal, because Kevin said it very, very, very wisely, there's a menu and there's something for everyone at his schools, right? And I love that because there's dual enrollment, there's AP, and then there's early college, right? Everything combined. You can get the best of both worlds. In our high schools, we have AP DC courses. What does that mean? It means that a young person is getting college credit and they're also getting AP credit at the same time. And that's the best of both worlds. So the students are getting the AP curriculum from the college professor, and they're getting the college credit also from the same professor, the college professor. So I wanted to put in that plug because you can't go wrong if you provide these opportunities for young people. They're going to benefit from all the menu of services, right? Which brings us back to the wraparound services, right? That Dr. Legg asked on. Some of these wraparound services, right, are like college advising. Some of our universities here, local universities, believe it or not, because I had the experience, my son went through an early college high school years ago, right? And very similar to what that university and the community college does, we do here in-house at Vanguard Academy, which is we provide them a college advisor, right? That's part of the wraparound services, just like a university or college. And informing that young person that, guess what? You're not just going to have a college advisor here at Vanguard Academy. You're going to have a college advisor when you get to the community college. You're going to have a college advisor when you get to the four-year college. And so don't forget that you have support there, and that's part of the wraparound services. Our counselors provide the wraparound service. And you asked it, how do we get students to succeed when they feel overwhelmed with assignments and work, just homework assignments and not completing them, and they're college students, they're young people. They're 14, 15. We have some of our students that are taking college classes at 14 years old, Dr. Legg, 14 years old. I didn't take my first college class till like in my 20s after I got out of the military, And so it's providing them that counseling for social, emotional. So before COVID, where our students, around the country were not getting social, emotional support, early college high schools allowed for us to provide that social, emotional support to our young people through the small learning community that they're a part of, from their teacher, from their counselor, from their college advisor, right? And so those are part of the wraparound services that our college advisors and our early college directors check up on our students on a weekly basis. They follow the degree plan that the community college has for the young persons. It's called JAGNet, short for Jaguars, right? So our community college has JAGNet for each child. And so our college advisors or college professors pull up the report and say, okay, this young person is failing the class. Let me recommend morning tutorials or afternoon tutorials or Saturday tutorials. And so those are part of the wraparound services that Vanguard Academy early college high schools offer. But it's programs and opportunities that universities and colleges offer as well. It's just that not all students are aware of those programs. And so that's where we might be failing, is that we don't inform our kids. Kevin said it, sometimes young people, especially, young people of color, the first time that they've gone to college is just to go on a field trip, just to go see the landscape, just to go see the buildings, the facilities. And that's their first time. They never go into a college classroom. So early college high schools allow for our young people to set foot in a college or with a professor, even AP, right, like I said, or dual enrollment, and to be receiving college services and classes at a university or a college, thus that when they graduate from our schools, they're ready to be successful and they take off. Early college high schools allow you to start early and go far. go way far, because an example is our young people are graduating within 2 years with their bachelor's, a couple years later with their master's, or even law school. They're graduating with a law degree within 3 to 4 years after they're graduated from high school. So that's where I'm talking about. Start early, go far.
Kevin, what are your wraparound services? What do they look like, and how what compared to like traditional schools?
Well, it's very similar to what Dr. Garcia was talking about. We do a 6-week college orientation program between 8th and 9th grade for our students incoming in 9th grade. They're actually on college campus. They're getting orientation, where the bookstore is, what a syllabus is, what a professor requires. They're learning some study skills, that sort of thing. That's the beginning. But wraparound services include providing the transportation. So we get the kids to our high school, but then we take them over to the college every day. Wraparound services include having a college success room. So between classes, when students don't have classes, they have a place on our high school campus where they can go and sit with their peers who are also in college courses and study. That actually helps build some camaraderie and shows that others are taking it seriously too. And it's a special room, not just any high school kid can go into the college success room. You got to be in college. And so we have our high school counselors, Dr. Garcia does and shared. We have social emotional counselors, social workers who help with the students if they fall down. Of course, we're providing breakfast and lunch and afternoon snack and sometimes meals. So there's another piece to this as well that I've started to kind of harp on, is that a lot of students who get Pell Grants or other kind of scholarships, if you look at the national statistics, only 50% of Pell Grant recipients actually complete a 4-year degree in 6 years' time. Well, why is that? Well, a lot of these are first generation, low income kids that are going off to college with no experience. And they drop out, not because they're not smart enough. They drop out for family reasons, for social reasons. They didn't have room and board. They couldn't pay the bill for that, or they needed a computer. Well, guess what? In our high school, in Dr. Garcia's high school, the kids are living at home. They've got room and board, supposedly. Yeah. They've got room and board there, so they don't have to worry about that. They're going to our high school. We provide them a computer. They don't have to worry about that. They need textbooks. We buy those textbooks for the college classes, so they don't have to worry about that. And then any kind of academic support, our teachers, we don't just say to our kids, hey, you're in college now, good luck, hope you do well. No, we check with them all the time. Every single day, we're checking in with the students to see how they're doing academically and then socially, emotionally. So there's a student who made national news, graduated from our school in 2017. She was our first to earn a full bachelor's degree from Purdue University while in our high school, completely paid for by us, earned by her. But if you listen to her, she will tell you straight up, there were plenty of times where she was thinking about stopping and not continuing with the college piece. She thought it was too much and too tough. Well, every single time she felt that way, our staff was there to pick her back up, lift her up and say, Raven, you can do this. Well, Raven did do it. She got a standing ovation at Purdue when she graduated with her bachelor's degree. She's been working for me now for 4 years. She's a 4th grade teacher. She's only 22 years old, folks. She's got a really nice teacher salary. She's got health and dental, and she's been paying into retirement for 4 years. And she has no college debt. How about that? 22 years old. When I was 22, I was in a lot of college debt. I didn't have health and dental, didn't even have my first job yet, So, this works for a lot of people. I don't want to say it's for everybody, but it does work for a lot of people.
So let's get back to that. So what I'm hearing is, we see it, and I know it varies from a program to program, but across the nation, most programs, early colleges, they offer the computer technology to answer one of the questions that were out there. They do offer the computer technology. They offer the wraparound services, the intrusive counseling, the social programs, the academic tutoring, the kind of the letting go of the student and following them even after they leave high school. They're doing a lot of follow up with them. how do you pay for this? Like, where does the money come from? And can both of you talk a little bit about how the funding model works for you, or doesn't work for you where you're from? And I know every state is different. There's no national model here, but can you give us a picture of how it works in your state? And I can give a little bit about where it works in Florida, but we'll start with you, Dr. Garcia. Talk about how it works in Texas and their model and how that funding works there.
What's so unique about Texas is that Texas has allowed for our community colleges, right, to work with early college high schools, right? Those school systems that have designated early college high schools, where our students don't pay any tuition. And so if a young person is a student in an early college high school, our local community college, South Texas College, does not charge us tuition for that young person. Now, where we pay out of our funds is for college textbooks, and that's a yearly expenditure, right? I would say we probably spend about $150,000 on college textbooks every year. And so in the past, Texas would also provide, I would say, about $150,000 in funding from something called a high school allotment. And so you could use that high school allotment from, for technology and to pay for college tuition and different things, and even college textbooks. So what we use is we own, the high school allotment has been done away with because a couple of years ago with HB 3, House Bill 3, right, that passed in 2019, the state implemented a new program called College Career Military Readiness Outcomes, bonuses. So if you are graduating students that are completing a pathway, you get a bonus per student, especially if the student, and you get more funding if the student is an economically disadvantaged or at-risk child. Obviously, those outcome bonuses have not been paid out yet until this coming year, 2 years later, because it's something new that was just implemented through House Bill 3 2 years ago. And then systems takes time, just like the high school allotment was started almost 20 years ago. It took some time to develop that. And obviously we took advantage of it here at Vanguard Academy while it was still going 2-3 years ago. So we're still waiting on the outcomes bonuses, but our kids are so focused that the data just came out right before Thanksgiving break, how our students are graduating on one or two different pathways. They're completing them before they graduate high school, whether it's with college credit or industry-based certifications, right? And so all those funds are coming out of our own budget, right? But we plan accordingly. We use state funding or we use any funding that we can use, but it's out of our own resources because obviously the tuition is free. So what we need to pay there are the teachers, the professors, the college textbooks. So we really budget accordingly, knowing that this is going to be the expenditure next year. And so we save that money for the future. What has allowed us to be very successful and to make sure that we complete, or that our students complete their pathway, is we look at our labor market reports in our region. And we study them and we say, okay, what are the pathways that are high demand and high wage? And so, believe it or not, Kevin said it, and I'm glad he said it because, man, I really see in Kevin's schools, like, they mirror what Vanguard Academy does and stands for, right? And so, our 3 top pathways at Vanguard Academy, number 1 is, or in the region. So our regional labor market report, number 1 is education. Teachers are needed. And we've had several former students come back and are teachers now, right? Our starting salary here is like $54,000. So imagine graduating at 22, 20 years old, come into a $53,000, $54,000 salary a year. That's pretty neat, right? We have students graduating with associate degrees in welding at 18. And I had shared this story with both of you, John and Kevin. Last year, we had about 6 students graduate with associates or certifications in welding. And they started working at 18, earning $60,000 to $80,000 a year in welding, fresh out of high school. So first pathway that our labor market report says is important is education. We need more teachers. So we focus on that pathway. Number 2 is healthcare. Hospitals need nurses, need doctors, need staff members to work those hospitals. So we focus on healthcare. Number 3, we focus on welding and as well as criminal justice, right? We're right on the Mexican border. So criminal justice has become important because our federal government has grown the Department of Homeland Security. So those are the 3-4 areas that our regional labor market report says are important for the region that we live in. And so we focus on those pathways while they're in high school. And we're very intentional that we know that no one's given us extra funding. So the funding that the state and the federal government already gives us, we use that funding intentionally and accordingly. But our early college high schools allow for our students to receive free tuition at our community college. Free. Zero debt. And so Kevin said it, 0 debt. We want students to graduate with 0 debt.
And we're starting to run a little low on time, but so this is one end of the perspective where Texas College basically doesn't even charge the school, this community college. It's free to the school, but they use
Correct.
those monies, except for textbooks. They use those monies for wraparound services and industry certifications and others. Kevin, paint us a picture of how the funding works in Indiana.
Well, I'm salivating because I'd love to have Dr. Garcia's program in Indiana. We don't get anything free. We don't get any extra money. All of the tuition we pay for, and it's roughly $120 to $140 a credit hour at the community college, and it goes up from there at IU and Purdue. And the textbooks, we don't get any breaks. So how do we pay for it? Well, the reality is we prioritize the students. And frankly, I look at the dollars that we get per student from the state as belonging to the student. And I want the student to get as much education out of that dollar as possible. Now, the state says it's a K-12 dollar. If I can help the kid get K-13 or K-14 dollars or results out of those K-12 dollars, I'm going to do it. And so I really love the dual credit piece, but it does require a lot of discipline on our part, meaning the administration. We can't have a traditional high school facility. We can't have, when I went to high school, I graduated in 1981, so from 77 to 81, I could have taken Latin, French, German, Spanish, Japanese, I could have taken welding, I could have taken auto mechanics, I could have taken culinary arts, I could have taken all kinds of things at my high school. My high school that I went to was a destination. I don't look at my school as a destination. I look at my school as a launching pad. So we want students to come to our school and be launched into the college. So when you come to our school, you won't see Latin and German and French and Spanish and all those other things. I've got a very small school. My high school is only 400 students. So if I wanted to offer all of those activities and opportunities and do it myself, it'd be very expensive. I have to build a garage to have an auto mechanics. I have to have a welding bay to have welding classes. I have to have, 5 or 6 or 7 different foreign language teachers. That's going to be very expensive. I got to have the staff. I got to have the facility, and what if I don't have kids that even want one of those classes next year? Well, that's a problem. Well, it isn't for us because what we do is we offer a bare bones high school with our goal, 100% goal is to get the student qualified to pass that entrance exam at the community college so that that's when the world opens up for them. The world doesn't open up for them at our high school. That's the beginning step. But then if they get through that entrance exam at the community college, the whole world opens up. They can take Mandarin, they can take French, they can take welding, they can take auto mechanics, they can take culinary arts, they can take nursing classes, whatever they want. But they got to get themselves qualified to pass those tests. So what that does is it saves us money. Literally, it saves us money on staffing, saves us money on facility. Now, I'm still paying I put out 300 grand last year in Gary for about 1,000 college credits to be earned. But the challenge now is trying to get the state to see that. And, I'm giving you college kids that, frankly, if they graduated from our high school, they would have qualified for scholarships and grants at the college level. But I've already paid for those. So I'm trying to figure out a way, and I'm working with some folks to figure out how we can either access Pell Grant money, get early access to Pell Grant money, get early access to state funding that's already there. I'm not asking for any extra money, just saying, there's some scholarship money that the state actually sets aside for low-income kids, mainly first-generation kids. If they make it through the gauntlet of high school, they get this amount of money to go to a four-year university for free. But if I'm already producing a bachelor's degree student, if I'm already producing an associate degree student on K-12 money, I'm hoping that I can convince some folks this is worth that investment and let us access those dollars. And I'm willing to do a pay for performance. Don't give me a penny unless I produce an associate degree student or unless I produce a career certification student.
So we have about 4 minutes left, and just to give Florida's perspective, Florida has basically our dual enrollment has a negotiated agreement with the community colleges to pay the fee. So the K-12 dollars pay for the college credits, but it is slightly less than a normal tuition because they negotiate a cost per credit hour, but it's about 80% of what it normally would be. We got about 3.5 minutes left. So let's go to final recommendations. If we can do about a minute each, Dr. Garcia, what would be your recommendations to a superintendent, a policymaker, or a community college out there saying, what would be your recommendation about this topic to them?
He's muted.
Dr. Garcia, I think you're muted. So while he's doing that, Kevin, we'll start with you. Then there you go. Dr. Garcia, go ahead and go.
Yeah. My recommendation to anybody, a politician or government official or superintendent or university or college presidents is to work together. We have such a such a great partnership with South Texas College down here in the Lower Rio Grande Valley, in which, we sometimes meet quarterly. And I know beyond a shadow of a doubt that at the onset 25 years ago, it was politicians, policymakers that started getting together with college and university presidents and telling them, we want better for our communities. We want better for our region. We want better prepared and a better educated workforce. And so if policymakers work with university college presidents and K-12 superintendents and bring everybody together like they have down here in the Lower Rio Grande Valley in South Texas, your children, your young people will become better prepared and better educated. And that's what you will have in the workforce, which will allow for your economies, our economies, to become more prosperous, just like they have in Gary, Indiana, with the support of Mr. Teasley and his schools. So that's my only recommendation.
All right, Kevin, great. Kevin, we got a minute and 30 seconds. What would you say?
A couple of things. I'd break down the barriers between K-12 dollars and higher ed dollars. I'd also look at the accountability grading system that states are putting in, your A to F. Maybe give some bonus points for schools that are actually producing kids with associate degrees. Don't treat them the same as you would a traditional school that has a high graduation rate. And then secondly, just financially, I think legislators can look at this and it can be a zero cost situation if they look at what they're already doing for low income kids at the higher ed level and then give high schools the opportunity to access that money and deploy and then do the wraparound services around the student that qualifies for that money and help that student earn some of those college credits while they're in high school. I think you're going to see a much better outcome at the end of the day.
So we got 30 seconds here, and just to kind of summarize and see if you two would agree, what we need is communication between post-secondary and high schools on how they can address this need. The other issue is ensuring that students that have the potential, that all students that have the potential have access to these coursework, and that there's not one single model out there that works for everyone. To be innovative, if you can be innovative and look at early college and these type of environments and their different forms, that the beneficiary is the student. Would you guys agree to that summary?
Yes.
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
There's not a silver
All right,
bullet.
look, it's not a silver bullet. It's, I always use the analogy. It's a food court.
Yes.
You gotta
Many
create options for students.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Well, with that, thank you both very much, and go forth and do great things. Thank
I
you.
appreciate you having us.
Thank you.